All right, so we are back and we are going to be doing two things today. So far we have gone through building our desktop version 1 or Breakpoint 1, desktop Breakpoint 2, tablet, and mobile. And now what we're going to finish up this tutorial with is we are going to re-optimize, make sure we have cleaned up everything on our site, and then we are going to get into animation. So let's go. All right, so a couple of things have happened. Just to recap, when we basically done everything for our other breakpoints, or essentially when we focused on mobile, what we did is we had to add a container to pretty much all of these assets here so that they could essentially be sticky on scroll. So what that did to the rest of our page, because we added a new element, essentially at the lowest breakpoint, we added a container to each one of these. I just slapped paper. We created a container for each one of these assets. Essentially on the upper breakpoints, because we added that new container, things had moved. So now we need to essentially go back to our upper tablet, second desktop breakpoint, and our first desktop breakpoint, and basically just change them and make sure that they are in the proper spaces. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with actually let's start from the top to bottom, guys. So let's go to my layers here and we're gonna start one thing at a time. So we have our penguin here. We have our Bowser piece here. We're gonna make sure that it's in between two of our grid sections. We're gonna just make sure that this is in our third one. We are going to touch our Koopa right here. And what we want to do with this is I'm going to set these containers. Remember, these are the containers that we made for mobile. I'm going to set these to about a width of 80 or really 90%. Okay, I'm going to center those. Whoopsies. I am going to take this, and it is centered. Perfect. I'm going to go here. I'm going to make sure that, okay, great. We're going to set this also to 90, and we are going to, before I do anything here, I also want to actually change. We have some margin here that I'm going to get rid of. There was an automatic add of about almost 300 pixels. We're going to set this to 0. There we go. And we're also, there's a little bit, still some space. So we're going to try to figure out where this space is coming from. There we go. There's a minimum height. Set that to none. And also we want to check to see if there is a section row height that is dictating. All right, so this is set to auto, which means there is height coming from somewhere in this. So we have auto height. Let's go ahead and check this again. Container, minimum width. There we go. Let's zero this out. Perfect. And we're going to do the same thing here. Container width, we're going to set this to 90%. And all we're going to do is we are going to set all of these to be right aligned. Right aligned. I'm gonna grab this right align, grab this right align, and we will do the same for this. We're just going to right align it just like that. Easy stuff. Okay, so we have our tablet pretty much finished. We'll double check that when we actually publish, but let's go ahead to our other breakpoints here. We're going to pretty much do the same thing here as well. So we're going to go ahead and take out the minimum height for, again, the outermost container. This is the container that we created on mobile, if you recall. I need to get this out of the way so I can actually edit the width of this container. Container can't have a minimum height. That's great, but I don't need this. Move! Well, I wish there was like a reverse tab. Maybe there is. Let's set this to 80. Can I do that? All right, cool. I could do the reverse tab, shift tab. All right, I'm gonna just center this here. I'm gonna make sure that it is in the third grid row, just like this. I'm gonna do the same thing here. I'm gonna set this puppy to 80%, and I'm gonna do the same thing here. Shift tab, so I can go backwards. Shift tab, 80%. And why I'm doing shift tab is because there is this frickin', I don't know why it's here. Container can't have a minimum height. All right, so do I just like zero this? Is that why? Yeah, the error message is just not going away for whatever reason. We'll probably have to refresh, but until then, we're just going to pull everything, make sure that there is the height for these containers are set to auto, no minimum height. Okay, looks good, looks good. And now all we're gonna do is we are gonna alternate this stuff. Okay, minimum height, we're gonna set this to 0. I want it at the, let me control Z that, let me see what's happening here. All right, we're gonna put it at the top. Make sure it's in the bottom, here we go. And now we're just gonna alternate all this content here. So if all this stuff is on the left, we're gonna move all this stuff to the right. And what's holding it kind of in place here is this container. So it's 80% of the width of the section. So basically when we're right align and everything, it is staying inside of this container that we've created. Grab this, right align, and I might actually pull this. All right, everything is right aligned here. We'll see what happens with this. I remember we shouldn't really have to worry about that, but we have, let's take a look at what's going on here. So it looks like we have, I'm gonna put browser back into his third grid. We're going to edit our, again, this goes to none. We're gonna make sure our containers in here have no minimum or no margin. Let's take a look. This is probably fine. Let's check here. This one's good. So now all we're gonna do is we're gonna jump in here and we're gonna set all of these to 80% width. All right, this still has some margin, so I'm gonna take this out, set it to 0. Perfect, taking out all of that additional spacing. Set this to 80, perfect. Set this to 80. Get rid of this minimum height. And now we can go ahead and stagger these like we had before. So this will be on the left, this will be on the right, this will be on the left, and our text here will also be on the right. And I want to set this minimum height to be none. There we go. But I want the top of this, oopsies, boom, just like that. Okay. And essentially why it just moved is because it had moved grid cells. So let's go ahead and publish this, see where we're at, and make any additional changes we need, and then let's jump into animation. All right, so we are good here. We have our left, we have our right, perfect. Left, right, excellent. So it looks like we lost some of our, what's it called, our height here. So let's go ahead and go down to this. And if you guys remember, we did have about a margin of 100 at the top. So let's go ahead and do that. Let's add that back in. We'll publish that. All right, our animation is still in place. Boom, boom, boom. Easy day, excellent. Okay, now let's start to, all right, our mobile is fine. Let's pull this out to our tablet breakpoint. Okay, this is looking good. All right, we can push the release date in just a little bit, but Mario is looking good. All this is looking great. Let's pull this out just a little bit more. Very nice. Okay, we do have to take care of this. There is some cutoff. All right. Very nice. Maybe we'll add just a little bit more space between each piece of content, but otherwise we are looking good, guys. So we'll go ahead and fix this cropping here, and we'll add more space in between each piece of content at this breakpoint. So let's go ahead and do that. All right, so we're gonna go to this breakpoint here, and we are going to, let's go ahead and let's fix this first because this is the easy part. Let's go to settings. Let's reset the image size. Let's go ahead and make sure that this does not in both grid cells. We just want it in one. And we are actually going to increase, I'm going to select my section here, and I am going to increase the gap size. So we'll do about like, we'll do 250 pixels for the gap. And let's go ahead and publish and see what this looks like. Let's bring it down to this breakpoint. All right, we have the logo, looks much better. All right, spacing is also much better here. Excellent. And the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure that this, it is in alignment, but I want to make sure that this actually finishes out almost parallel to this. So let's go ahead and figure that puppy out. And like we did with our main or our very first desktop, we're going to set the margin to be 100 from the top. That might be what saves that. Let's go ahead and scroll down to the bottom. All right, we could use just a little bit more. Let's try 200. Let's try 200 and see what that looks like. Publish. And if you wanted, of course, for responsivity reasons, you could use percentages, but as of right now, I am using pixels just so I can see. All right, this looks much better. And so if I wanted to, I can switch this from pixels to percentage, see what this looks like. Publish. That way it's a little bit more responsive, depending on, regardless of what device somebody's looking at this on. All right, okay, so let's go ahead, scroll to the bottom. All right, and this should be fine. We'll leave it at this for a percentage. All right, and then I believe there is one other thing. Let's go ahead and check all of our breakpoints very quickly. All right, this looks good. Believe there was one breakpoint we wanted to fix, and it might be this one. So how far this one is, we'll fix that. And what we also could do is make these come a little bit closer, because obviously it looks great here and it makes sense. However, when it's far out here, it looks a little odd, you know what I'm saying? So we're going to go ahead and fix that, and we're also going to manage this release date as well, because it's really far out here. So maybe we'll take all these and pull them out this way. Let's go ahead here. And this looks like, okay, it's about 70, we'll do 75%. And we're gonna just go to all of these. Instead of 90, we're gonna set these to 75%. Width, therefore bringing this content on the right over, or just in just a little bit more by constricting the container. This is still not 100%. I'm holding Shift or Alt and Shift so I can just move this sideways just like this. There we go. And now this is aligned with this. Perfect. I'm gonna go ahead and publish this, and this should be exactly what we're looking for. Let's scroll down. All right, looks like this did not take shape, but this is pulled in just a little bit better. All right, release date is looking good. I'm gonna go back in here. Let's get our Koopa. Let's go here. We have 70%. Let's make sure, okay. I'm gonna move everything to about 70%. See how that shapes up for us. Okay. Set this to 70 as well. Okay, let's do our publish and let's see. So this stuff is much better in alignment. It's a lot closer. Release date, we're gonna push this down. Again, we are gonna push it down by, we already have it by 12%. So maybe what we do here is, let's just switch this to pixels. And let's do, for this breakpoint, let's do about 200. Let's see what this looks like. Publish. And again, it's all about the play. What works, what's not working. It's the constant refinement of what you're trying to build. Scroll down. All right, we're gonna do about 250, maybe 300 pixels margin at the top. So let's try 280. Let's go ahead and publish. Scroll down, and excellent. All right, so we'll keep that. We'll turn that into a percent just by clicking over. Boom, 29%. We'll publish that. Beautiful. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to push this, do about 25% here. But this is why it's important to play around to see what is working. There we go. We'll leave it at 25%. And there it is, guys. So the last finishing touches we are going to do, we're going to talk very quickly about how we get this effect with our play trailer. So just again, our desktop looks good. Our second breakpoint for our desktop looks excellent. We moved everything to the left. We can scroll. Excellent, this lines up. We now have, we're moving into our tablet here. Let's scroll back to the top. Everything's on the left. Things are minimized, a little bit brought in just a little bit more. Release date at the bottom. And then as we come closer, we get pushed in to our mobile view. Just like this, and Mario scales. We might not want Mario to scale because he may or may not fit. Ooh, he does fit, okay. Let's see as we scale. Okay, perfect. So Mario does scale with the tube, which is excellent. All right, guys, that is it. Those are all the breakpoints. Now we're going to talk about how we created this Lightbox for our movie trailer, which is super simple. All we're going to go ahead and do, or really all that's needed, is one, we already have our button. Like I mentioned, I showed you guys how to create the button, but what we're going to do to create the Lightbox is we are going to go to our plus here. We are going to go to embed. Let's see. Contact forms, dun, dun, dun. Compositions, layout. Here we go. We're going to go to, for our Lightbox, we're going to go to layout tools. We're going to go to Lightboxes. And very simply, you are just going to go to, you can pick any one of these you desire. But what I did is I picked this one here. And all I did was I took everything out, all of this, made the grid be 1 by 2. I moved this grid up just a little bit here so I can move this button into this top section. So we still have that exit button. In this area though, what I did was I quick added a video player. I scaled this, and honestly you can use a video player, you can use a, in this case I actually used a YouTube clip. So let's do video box. You can do a video box or a video player, either one, but let's go back to actually a video player. A video player is what you can actually use for, let's go to change video. You can upload video, YouTube, Vimeo, Facebook, Dailymotion, Twitter, what have you. You can autoplay or play in a loop. So here, I just click this, I search my video, and I just type in Mario Bros. Movie. I just click my trailer of choice. I can autoplay. I can add my description if I want. And it's as simple as this. I basically hit done. And how I set up the trigger for the Lightbox is I click my button, I go to linked, and I simply can, instead of clicking any of these, I'm going to go to my Lightbox here, my Lightbox option. And now I have two. This was the one that I made last time. This is the one that I just made, and how I can change the names is simply by going to my pages and changing which promo I have made. So this is my first version. This one is my second one. And I'm curious why it looks like none of the changes were made. So let's go ahead and do that very quickly right now. Quick add, video player, scale this, change video. YouTube. Let's go to search. Bros Movie. Ta-da. Add. Autoplay. Close that and hit done. Alright, let's check this one more time. There it is. And I'm going to just rename this to Lightbox Tutorial. Lightbox Video Tutorial. Alright. We can go ahead and hit done. We're going to switch this like I mentioned before. We'll start at the desktop here, change the button link to Lightbox. We're going to change it to Lightbox Video Tutorial and hit done, hit publish. And now when I press play, we get that over screen takeover. We have our close button up here. We have our other video sort of tools here. We have the play, the mute, the captions, the settings, the link to go straight to YouTube or even full screen, which is awesome. So really simple. And if you want to make this responsive, right, it's pretty easy, just like we've made everything else responsive. Let's go here. Okay, this is our breakpoint or our Lightbox at different breakpoints. So desktop, tablet, mobile, it kind of gets a little funky. So this is how we edit it. Okay, just like we've done everything else, I am going to push our grid all the way up. I'm going to select my close button. I am going to center that here, and our video player, we are just going to honestly unstretch. Oh, and it looks like there's two of them. So I'm going to delete one of them. Let's see if I can get the, let's see what this looks like just as we preview this here. There we go. So this actually works out. The video isn't looking too crazy. Our play elements or our video tools are here. So this works, but if we wanted everything to kind of collapse into the size of the video, we can totally do that by going back to our page, video Lightbox, going back to mobile, and we can actually, let's see if we set the height to, we have it set to auto, but let's unstretch this. Let's do a, see if we can get this to its natural, right about here. Set this to 100%. There we go. And I'm going to take this box and set this from a minimum height to a auto. There we go. So it basically collapsed, and I can set this a little bit higher here, center it, hit done. So there's many ways that you guys can actually edit this. So this is what the collapsed version looks like. So that is it for the Lightbox. And of course, if you want to, you can finagle where this close is. Right now it is over top of some elements here. So what we could do to change that, again, let's go in here and add some extra space at the top for our close button here. Publish. And surprising, oh, we didn't do it to the desktop. We did it to mobile, that's why. All right, so there's a little bit of separation, but again, you guys can continue playing with how this should look. You can add the play button even further up, but this content here, it is out of the way of the cross, which is, to me, most important, okay? So let me, and actually, I think this is the old one. So let me go back into this button here. Let me go here, Lightbox. Yes, it's the wrong one. Let's go ahead and preview this. This one should actually work and properly function. Here we go. So we have our video. Our X is way out of the video's view. So we can close that very simply, and all the other tools, toggles, buttons are out of the way. All the YouTube stuff is separate from the close button of the Lightbox. All right, so all that stuff, breakpoints, responsivity, and the Lightbox are taken care of. Now let's talk about animation, which is the simplest part of this entire thing. So we're just going to talk about desktop because all of the animations that you see on this website, especially as you come in, where this comes in. Another thing, when you make your Lightbox, do make sure that when you edit your Lightbox, set triggers, make sure automatically display Lightbox on page, set this to no, okay? Because you only want it triggered when you hit the play button or the play trailer button. Very important. All right, so let's get into animation. So let's go, I'm gonna select some of this content that we already have. I'm going to select our logo here, and what we have here in EditorX is very simple. We already have pre-made animations which are super easy to use. You just select your preset. You can see what it looks like. We're using a float in. We can customize this. We have a delay of 0.2. Reason being is we are in the beginning we tried to cascade, or really just have one animation after the next. So we have our logo come in first, and then next we have our buttons come in. Let's see. We would have our buttons come in as a float in, customize, and instead of 0.2, we'll do a 0.4. So the logo comes in, then our button comes in, and we'll do this, the direction from the bottom. There we go. And we will set these. This is already set to fade in, customize. This is set to delay and come in at 1.2. We're going to copy that, and we're going to do the same thing for our menu here. We're going to animate it. We're going to fade in, customize at 1.2 seconds. And pretty much everything else, the animation that we have here is just from a preset. We are using reveal for all of our text, revealing from the left. And we also have these cascaded, so they're animating in one after the other. So we have 0 here, 0.2 here, and we should have 0.4 here. Perfect. And our images, they're floating in from the right, and the delay is 0. So it goes image, subhead, title, paragraph. And basically we've just copied that from one section to the next section to the next section, and this simply just has text reveal animations from the left. So ladies and gentlemen, that is pretty much it. We basically made one section, we animated it, we duplicated it once, twice, changed the content, and that's pretty much it. So let's go ahead and publish and see what we have done. All right, we have our animation here. Uh-oh, it looks like we still need to fix the Lightbox pop-up. So let's go back to our pages. Let's go to promo new here. I want to see and make sure. Let's go to my Lightbox here, set triggers. All right, this is set to no. I'm trying to find why. Okay, so with this desktop, I guess for each breakpoint, we have to declare what is happening with the Lightbox. So, and because we also did start off doing this with the mobile version first. So, unless there was a glitch. So we'll do Mario Bros. Movie. Grab this. I'm actually gonna do a different trailer. I like the mushroom one looking. We're gonna autoplay it. Perfect. And we are gonna go ahead and close this. We're gonna select our Lightbox, set triggers, and okay, automatically display Lightbox on page. No. Okay. Let's hit done. And now let's publish and let's cross our fingers. Let's hope that we don't get that pop-up again, because if we do, I have no idea what's wrong. All right, as we've done already, this all looks good. Maybe we'll go ahead and change some of the paragraph text. Let's play the trailer, and we are looking good, guys. Okay, so really quick, I'm gonna change some of the text and we will be good to go. All right, I am also going to set all of these to 1.4 EM to make this a little bit easier to read for our paragraphs. All right, and we're gonna go ahead and check to make sure all of this is A-okay on all the breakpoints. Looks good. I wonder if I call this king returns so it stays on one line. Call this star power defenders. Maybe on this breakpoint I'm going to make these a little bit smaller, maybe 25 pixels. Let's go to tablet, or let's go to, here we go. I'm gonna squeeze this to minimum width, set this to none. There we go. Just doing my final edits here. Okay, gonna set the spacing to 1.4 EM. Make sure this does not have a minimum height. Set this to none. Our container here, I'm gonna set this to minimum width, set this to none, because I want this stuff to be centered. All right, let's hit our final publish. Now the only thing we might want to change is how long this text is. So everything is fine except when we get to mobile, we might want to make these a little bit larger width-wise, because we'll set the max to a pixel. We'll set this to maybe 300. Minimum width, we'll set this to none. And maybe another thing that we do is we could also make Mario a tad smaller, him and his container here. So maybe we do like 25 pixels or 25%. One of the easy things that I can do again is changing the width of these things. Of course, when you get to mobile, all right, like this is pretty good. But we're getting some squeezing here that we don't want. So let's go ahead and see what's happening. Let's go here. There's still something here that is wrong. So I'm going to set this to auto. There we go. I'm going to look for our text container. I'm going to set this to 100%. Okay, max width, set that to none. And we are going to try this for pretty much everything. So that way, this scales nicely in percentage terms. Container. Let's go jump to this container, the large one. We're going to set this to 100%. Max width, set it to none. Our main container here is 100. This is set to 80. All right, so we're going to take this container here. We're going to set this to 80%. This we're going to set to auto. All of the text inside here, we're going to set to 100. Good. Let's go to the container of that. We're going to set this to 80%. And I'm going to double check that. I think it needs to be actually 100. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to do that one more time. All right. So let's double check this. Everything should be fine. I'm going to set this. Only reason I have this max is because I want it on 2 lines. So that's the only change that I'm doing. All right, let's publish. All right, so this is fine. I probably want this centered a little bit better. All right, that's looking okay. And this is looking okay. I think the only thing now that I'm going to actually do, and I know this is going to be responsive, but I want now kind of how this looks centered. I want everything to be centered now. I think that's going to make everything look uniform. So I'm going to take this. I'm going to set this to be center aligned. Center. I'm going to keep this how it is. I'm purposefully actually going to break this line here, hitting enter, so that I actually can use, instead of 100% here, I'm going to do max content so it gets squeezed. Center it. Next line here, boom. Center. Center line. This is just going to be left how it is. Center line. Center line. And this is going to be left how it is. I might actually center align this stuff as well. Let's go to mobile. All right, there we go. Nice and centered. We might be able to squeeze this in too. All right, centered. We'll probably squeeze this as well. And this looks kind of good. And this looks fine. All right, so we're going to start to squeeze our paragraph text now too. So let's go here. All right, this is kind of where we're getting into trouble here. So I'm going to set all of this to 90%. Reason being is, as we saw down here, the penguins were sticking out of the container, and that is never good. Yep, Army of Koopa is sticking out here as well, so we're going to set this to 90. Much better. I think max width, I'm going to set this to be their max width. I do not want it to go any, I don't want it to expand any more than that. Max width, and we're just setting it to pixels, and it will take its current width that we're looking at. So as we pull out this way, all right, so it's staying that width, but it's docked to the left. So we are going to undock it, center it, keep it in that bottom section here, center, keep in that bottom grid, dock it to the bottom. Same thing here, don't dock it to the left, center, dock to the bottom. Perfect. Let's make sure everything stays. Cool. All right, let's publish one more time on this baby. There it is, nice and centered. Nice and centered. I might do a double line for King Bowser. And nice, and same thing with the penguins. We'll do a double line. King Koopa, King Bowser. Now let me see, this is set to 100%. We want, again, we're gonna do a max width so it stays like this, just like we did with our paragraph. Max width, set it to a pixel, we'll publish. Because eventually they'll stack, but I think once we get to mobile, we just want it to do its thing. When it gets to mobile, just have our text just be double stacked. Just waiting for it to publish. There we go. We need to center it, and we need to center this as well. The power of constantly checking your work. All right. So center. Remove any of the margin. Center. Keep it in the grid cell properly. I might actually keep it to 60. I'm gonna keep it to 60 pixels. We're not gonna have this scale. We're gonna just keep it to 60. Just so we don't have to deal with any of the, just less things to deal with. 60. That's why we had that weird mishap with the changing of the text. So we're gonna publish, just refreshing to make sure. Okay, boom, fixed. And the penguins are fixed. Excellent. Beautiful. Now, what I'm going to go ahead and do is I actually like the size of Mario. He's an appropriate size to where he does not hit up against the content. Excellent. Beautiful. All right, that is it, folks. Everything is working perfectly. We have all the context from our text. We have our animations. We have our trailer buttons, which actually I see is not, here we go. For some reason, it was not playing for a second. Aha. So you guys might fall into this as well, where you're not able to click these buttons. And I have the answer for you. It's actually about the layers. So again, troubleshooting, troubleshooting, troubleshooting. Let's go to my desktop here. So we have this whole section right here, but these containers, right, are on top. So we're going to take this and we are going to move it just right under, or right over top all of these containers. And we're going to make sure that this is the case. Well, we don't need to worry about it necessarily here, I don't think. Oh, no. Yeah, we do. Here's our container. We are going to need to move this stuff on top of our containers because when we start scrolling down, these containers start to overlap them. So this will be our, hopefully, our final move for all of this. All right, perfect. We're going to publish one more time. I'm going to publish again, or refresh just to make sure, because we did publish those changes. It might have just taken. All right, cool. So we can still hover at every point. Good, good. Excellent. Let's break it down to these other breakpoints here. Perfect. We can hover. We can hover. We can hover. Excellent. All right, guys, this is the final look at our site. I hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. I know it was a lot of back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, but the main things here are, and as you watch this, the main segments of this video are how to create the first breakpoint for our desktop, the second desktop breakpoint, the tablet version, and the mobile version. On top of that, we talked a little bit about how to optimize, how to constantly double check, make sure that what you want to actually occur, you make sure that you are double checking your inspector, making sure that the width, the height, the percentages, all line up, and that your layers, making sure that the content that you actually want to actually be able to be interacted with is on the layers, the appropriate hierarchy, so that when you actually hover over, just like we talked about with the buttons, they were being overlaid by containers, and we just needed to make sure our buttons were on top of those containers so we actually can interact with them. So make sure as you're following the tutorial, you also do your due diligence in checking your inspector panel, making sure that your grid cells width and height are the same as your inspector width and height. Okay, there's a lot of things that can be missed, but always double check, make sure that there's no discrepancies. And I hope you guys enjoy this. Again, you guys can, there will be more challenges in our Discord, so check in every month as I will be doing my own version of the challenge the first week of each month. And don't forget to join our Discord if you haven't already, because there's tons of amazing creatives from every spectrum of creativity, from web design, coding, content creation, video editing, you name it. So with that being said, I hope you guys join, and I look forward to the next challenge with you all. Take it easy and have a great day. See you in the next challenge.